It was a calm evening in Zoni village. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and gold. Kofi, the village storyteller, sat under the big baobab tree in the center of the village square. The baobab was ancient, its thick roots twisting deep into the earth, and its branches stretching like arms to the heavens. People in the village called it the tree of life, but they also feared it. It was said that the tree whispered names in the wind, and anyone who heard their name would vanish within days. Kofi had never believed such tales. He loved stories, but this one seemed too strange to be true. That night, as the wind rustled through the branches, Kofi thought he heard a faint sound. Kofi, the whisper was soft, almost like a breeze, but it made his heart race. He looked around, but no one was there. The next morning, Kofi told his best friend, Obi, about what he had heard. Obi laughed. "It's just your imagination, Kofi. You tell too many stories." Kofi tried to laugh it off, but he couldn't shake the uneasy feeling. Later that day, Obi disappeared. Everyone in the village searched for Obi, but he was nowhere to be found. Kofi felt a deep guilt. Had the tree taken Obi because Kofi had ignored the warning? As the villagers whispered about the cursed tree, Kofi decided to find out the truth. He went to the village elder, Ngozi, a wise woman who knew the old stories better than anyone. Ngozi's hut was filled with dried herbs and carved wooden masks. She listened as Kofi told her about the whisper and Obi's disappearance. Her face grew serious. "The baobab holds many secrets," she said. "But it does not act without reason. If it called your name, Kofi, there is something it wants you to know." Kofi's curiosity burned brighter, but fear held him back. He couldn't ignore what had happened to Obi. He decided he would visit the baobab that night and listen to what it had to say. The night was cold, and the village was silent as Kofi walked to the baobab tree. The moonlight cast long shadows on the ground. Standing under the massive tree, Kofi felt small. He waited for the whisper, his heart pounding in his chest. "Kofi," this time, the voice was clearer, like someone standing right beside him. He shivered but didn't run. "What do you want from me?" he whispered back. The wind blew stronger, and leaves rustled. Kofi noticed a hollow in the tree's trunk that he had never seen before. The opening seemed to invite him in. Swallowing his fear, he reached out and touched the bark. The hollow widened, revealing a small wooden box inside. Kofi pulled the box out and opened it. Inside was a piece of cloth covered in strange symbols and an old, faded letter. The letter was written in shaky handwriting, "To whoever finds this, the truth is hidden in the roots." The words puzzled him. What truth? What roots? He didn't understand, but he knew he had to find out. The next morning, Kofi showed the cloth and the letter to Ngozi. Her eyes widened when she saw the symbols. "These are the marks of the first villagers of Zoni," she said. "It is said they made a pact with the baobab long ago to protect the village, but no one knows what the pact was." Kofi's mind raced. Could the pact have something to do with the disappearances? Ngozi warned him to be careful. "If the tree is speaking to you, it means you are part of its story now. Do not anger it." As Kofi continued to search for answers, strange things began to happen. The tree's roots seemed to shift and grow overnight, reaching closer to the village huts. Villagers began hearing whispers in the wind, and fear spread like wildfire. Kofi felt the weight of the mystery pressing on him. He needed help, so he turned to Amina, a young herbalist who knew the forest well. Amina had always been curious about the tree but stayed away because of the legends. When Kofi told her everything, she agreed to help. "The truth is hidden in the roots," she said, repeating the letter's words. "We must dig." That night, Kofi and Amina returned to the baobab with tools. They dug near its massive roots, careful not to harm the tree. After hours of work, they uncovered a hidden chamber beneath the tree. Inside, they found carvings on the walls and more symbols like the ones on the cloth. At the center of the chamber was a small wooden idol, carved in the shape of a man. It had the same strange marks on it, and it radiated an eerie energy. Amina whispered, "This must be what the tree is protecting." As they reached for the idol, the ground shook, and the whispers grew louder. The voice was no longer gentle, it was angry. "Leave this place." Kofi froze, but Amina grabbed his hand. "We can't stop now." The whispers became deafening, and the chamber began to collapse. Kofi grabbed the idol, and the shaking stopped. The air grew still, and the whispers faded. When they climbed out of the chamber, the baobab tree seemed to glow faintly under the moonlight. Back in the village, they showed the idol to Ngozi. She explained that it was a symbol of the pact the first villagers had made with the tree. The tree had protected the village for centuries, but the villagers had forgotten their part of the deal, to honor the tree with offerings and care. Kofi and Amina returned the idol to the baobab, placing it at the base of the tree. They promised to remind the villagers of their duty to the tree. The whispers stopped, and the village began to heal. Obi returned a few days later, confused but unharmed. He couldn't remember where he had been, but Kofi knew the tree had spared him. From that day, Kofi became more than a storyteller. He became the guardian of the baobab story, ensuring that the villagers never forgot the pact again. The tree stood tall and silent, its secret safe once more. The village of Zoni thrived, and Kofi finally understood the true power of stories, not just to entertain, but to protect and unite.